You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the June 4th meeting for the Michigan City Tree Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, it is 5:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll call to order, and has everyone received the agenda for today?
Oh, Nancy, did you she sign in?
Do you need a copy?
If you have.
Don't have an extra. Do you have an extra copy of the
Of the
agenda?
agenda? Yes. Uno momento. Here we go. Thank you.
Great.
Oh, for you, okay.
Yeah.
And approval of the agenda. Do I have a...
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, that's Betsy. I'm sorry, 1 second. Here.
Do we have any...
Technical difficulties.
That's okay.
Searching for a working pen.
Here you go. Take this one.
I've got it. I just had to get to it. Thank you all very much. Okay, so the agenda was approved by Betsy and seconded by,
Yep, motion by Betsy, and do we have a second to approve the agenda?
I second.
Second by Laura. And roll call.
okay. Jen Birchfield,
Present.
Betsy Elsasser,
Present.
Laura Henderson.
Here.
Me, I am present, Mary Ell Murphy. So a quorum of 4 is satisfied. And I think those are all the members that we currently have at this moment. I'm happy to welcome our council liaison, Nancy Mollenhauer.
Thank you. And Dr. Cora sends his regrets. He had to work this evening.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
And also welcome to Phil Graff.
Welcome, Phil.
Thank you.
Do you have a title of acting?
I think it's just City Forester.
Okay,
City
So,
Forester.
On contract
okay.
as a consultant. So, but I believe I'll be called City Forester.
Okay,
Wonderful.
well, great.
Welcome, City Forester. Thank you
Yes.
for being here.
Yes.
Yes. Approval of minutes for prior meeting. Has everyone received and reviewed the meeting minutes from our May meeting? Any discussion of those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Minutes approved.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Secretary Treasurer's Report and Claims.
Okay, and this month I remembered to actually send out the financial documents. And so you all should have received those.
Just a point of order, I think you need to take a vote.
Oh, okay. We had
Oh, I
the,
apologize.
we had the second, but we didn't have the vote.
Yes, I'm new to. I think on both approval of the agenda. Yes. All in favor. We have a motion to approve the agenda in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, agenda approved. And approval of minutes for the May meeting. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Thank you for that.
Yes. Okay, so for the financial reports then, we got those from Mary Lynn, and I did take a comparison of them to last month's as I'm getting used to all of this. And I did see we had in our year-to-date revenue under statement of cash position, that's generally a little donation can.
Goes that way.
So that we had an increase of $115.25 from last month. And then I asked her about, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but on the full budget on the last row there under other services and charges 439, I was just wondering, I think I may have asked about this before, but I asked again. So we do have at this point like 24,000 in the red, and I asked about that, and she said that's where the charges for the $1 million grant go, and then we will be reimbursed for those. So there's nothing budgeted, that the city council budgeted for that. This is a grant, came from somewhere else, but that's where the money is parked and then paid out of there.
Okay.
So everything
Thank you
looks-
for asking that.
Yeah,
'cause I
everything
didn't
looks fine to
know
me.
either.
Okay. And I don't think, because our treasurer is really the comptroller. I don't think we need a motion to approve
Right.
these. It's just an
Okay.
FYI. But if there are any questions, be a good time to ask them.
I will note for the donation fund,
Yes.
I have given $113 in donations from our spring farmers market events and
Great.
giveaways.
Great.
So that was
Which we've
100.
had-
Not very many.
What's that?
Not very many.
Yes, but that has been given to the city controller. Might not be on the reports yet, but it has been given.
Okay, it's strangely close to the $115
I was thinking the same thing.
increase, so I don't know where that $2 and whatever came from. Okay, very good.
Okay. So I don't think we need any action there, like you
Correct.
said.
Correct.
Moving on, communications, Arbor Day planning. That, Arbor Day's passed.
A little early, yeah.
Or are we
Oh, I'm always
considering?
looking for the next one.
Yes, yes,
Not yet. Something on the calendar.
yes.
Well,
To
as far
be
as
determined.
communications goes, I did get the chance to speak briefly with the mayor at Coffee with the Mayor. And I asked her if we needed to start looking for a forester. And she said it's cheaper to have a contract because we don't have to pay insurance. And so,
Or benefits.
yeah, so, she implied that Phil would continue, which I think is wonderful.
Hopefully this is not news to Phil.
No, no. So,
Okay, because the last, I'm sorry if I can jump in. The last we had heard is that you were through the end of this year.
Yeah.
And then I think we were not sure what that implied for next year. I don't know if you know yet either.
No, we have a contract that was from June 1st, which was actually Sunday, I think. My first official time logged in was Friday. Met with Public Works Director. We've had several meetings already since then, but the contract goes up through December 31st. And essentially, we have a very time-sensitive
Yes.
task here with trying to get this grant program underway and off the ground after a year and a half. So there's some actionable things that need to be done. And the process of hiring a full-time city forester it just didn't quite fit into the time frame necessary for us to notice. I'm saying us now, because I'm not sitting over there anymore.
Yeah.
For us to get this grant program off the ground, and there's also the possibility of grant fund freezing again. So we just can't wait around too long. And
Absolutely.
so I'm here till at least December 31st, and good Lord willing, maybe after that we'll see how it goes. And
I'm very happy.
I'm here to help you with whatever you guys need in every capacity there is. So
Yeah.
I think we're in good hands.
Yep. Yes.
it was all like I said, it was all official last week.
Good.
So
Phil, if a citizen wants to get in touch with you about a tree or something, can I give them your email or phone
Sure.
number or
Yep,
contact information?
absolutely.
Do you have a city email or?
I don't know if I'm going to get one. I assume I will. I don't know. No one said anything. You can take one of my cards. I know you already have my email, but just in case you need to put it on something
And
else.
we did have a meeting prior to this meeting with Public Works and the mayor and U.S. Forest Service to kind of get everything on track with the grant.
Okay.
There was some discussion of we need a centralized point to send people to. I don't know that we came to a decision.
That's what we were talking about after when we kind of broke
Okay.
up into the groups, and I think you were talking to the mayor still. We're going to be meeting again next week with Central Services to try to get a funnel system going so things get funneled to me because there is going to be grant work and non-grant work. As you heard at the meeting, we have to submit 2 different invoices, but it's all everything has to go through me, otherwise
Okay.
the inventory is just going to get jumbled up.
Okay,
So
so you are the
they're,
contact.
they're working on how that's going to go, whether it's going to be a portal through the website or a phone number or a combination thereof. But either way, if it goes through, if there's going to be a designated phone line for it, whoever's on the
Yes,
other end
that
answering
down.
that phone's going to enter it into a web-based portal, so all requests will come to me.
Okay,
But in the meantime, circling back to Betsy, your question is you can always have people email me. I'll be happy to.
Great.
yeah.
So.
And I found Phil to be very responsive.
Very good.
Okay, under communications, we have some communication from the Urban Forestry Outreach Coordinator with DNR.
There, a couple of emails had come in, and if I may, does the whole tree board get these as well, or or am I the only one who gets them? That's why I'm reporting them at this meeting, to inform you. Next time I get one, I will send it to the group. I think I have been doing that, and then I'll ask you, did you already get this? And please let me know.
Okay,
I
and
don't want to spam you.
we can also, if everyone would like, we could ask that DNR add the entire tree board to their email system so that you don't have to play middleman. I'm sure they'd be happy to do that.
Well, does the tree board really need to receive emails intended for tree stewards? I mean, how many of us are tree stewards?
Let me ask who would like to receive these kinds of emails.
I would.
Laura? Jen?
Yes, and I believe I already do.
Okay.
Betsy, no.
Okay, yeah, well, okay. Thank you all very much. So anyway, there were some requests on tree stewards to submit volunteer hours, and Jen, I think you responded to that too, saying, the work that people like Betsy and others have done would certainly count on that.
But I'm not a tree steward.
Okay. And then there's a webinar. I actually sent that on to Dominique on a native plant nursery. Sounded like something she'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Then another DNR email was on the Indiana Tree Species Selection Guide, which seemed like a nice thing to get. I think I sent that on to all of you.
I would like to get that, but I don't think I got it.
Okay.
That one.
I will send that out. And then the DNR Community and Urban Forestry Program. Okay, in partnership with the Indiana Community Forestry Council, there's going to be a symposium December 9th and 10th in Bloomington. So that's the info. I'm guessing someone like Phil might already be going, but anyway, just FYI on that.
Well, unless we have a budget to attend these things, I don't know that that's essential for the tree board to get.
No budget.
That's an overnight in Bloomington.
Right.
Okay, any other questions, communications about communications? Hearing none, moving on to committee reports, public relations.
Well, I'll report about the community tree grant and
Thank
the
you.
work we finished. Although I have a hard time figuring out the difference between public relations and education
I do
and
too.
outreach. I wish we could just call it education and outreach anyway, so Jennifer and I planted the last 3 trees from our community grant. So that gives us a total of 10 trees planted at 4 different schools. And even though that doesn't sound like a lot of trees, I think, as I was saying earlier, that these are high impact locations. Because at each school, there was a number of children. I mean, some schools had more, some schools had less. There was a number of children who were very involved
That's great.
and engaged in this tree planting process. And at 3 out of the 4 schools, they actually helped. At Marsh School, for example, they came out of the building each with a container of water. And then at Edgewood School, they helped with the shovel, fill in the hole. It took a long time, but they helped with that. And at the last event at Springfield, they helped with watering. And the principal was there at
That's
Springfield.
wonderful. Great example.
There was the principal, I think, was there at Edgewood. too.
Yes.
But anyways, at least one of these schools, maybe 2, were interested in having more trees.
Good.
And I am willing to fill out the application if we want to have a community planting in the fall. And maybe to include a couple of those schools and hopefully a couple more, although we're still open to planting at, in front of residences. But And I'm hoping that once the principals tell the other principals that they got trees, that the word will spread. If we can get schools that at a higher level than elementary schools, I would like to have the kids help out a lot more physically.
Yes.
But there wasn't much some of the little kids could do. I went ahead and, after talking to Jen, I went ahead and contacted the Beecher and sent them a few lines, very short, about Community and the Michigan City and how we have this focus this year on planting the trees at schools. But, it's still open to other public locations. So if we're lucky, sometime in June, they'll print this small item. And I referred them to the Facebook page. And also, for people who don't use Facebook, my treekeeper185 at Yahoo email. Some people may have questions that they would rather just ask individually and not post on Facebook. So I'm willing to field them. And I'm hoping that this fall we could do at least 10 trees around town and find a few more volunteers.
So I like the idea of a fall planting with Community. Do we need a motion, or is there other discussion? Do others also like that? So do we need a motion to request that Betsy reach out to Community for more trees for the fall? How do y'all feel about that?
My only comment is that we will need to keep up on watering
Right.
any trees that we plant. So
Well, I'm planning this weekend to go back and look at all the trees we planted. I don't think I'm going to need to water.
Not today, yeah.
Or even tomorrow. But I'm just going to make sure periodically this summer
Thank
that
you.
they're there. And in case there's been any vandalism or things. So that's a commitment I made some time ago.
if you're willing, then I'm all in. I just don't want to overwhelm you with watering.
No, this is my passion, I guess you could say, and I'm going to not let those 10 trees go to waste.
Thank you.
Well, I want to give a big thank you to the women that showed up and along with the principals in some cases and students to plant those trees. And I think it was delightful that Marsh School sent some adorable thank yous back to the
Can
tree
you put these
whisperers.
on this?
I did post these on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Oh,
There, so.
There's 3 of them.
we can pass them around.
Yeah, we'll pass them around.
Yeah.
Very cute. They were second graders that made these.
What species did you plant?
At Marsh, we planted 2 chinkapin oaks.
Oh, nice.
At Pine, we planted a big sycamore and 2, I think it was 2 river birch, or
Yes,
was it
I
2
think-
sycamores and 1 river birch?
But no pines? You didn't plant pines at Pine?
They already
They have pines. They have pines at Pine.
And at Pine, we had to cage the trees because that's deer country out there. At Edgewood, we planted, I think, 2 not river birch, they requested redbud trees. And at Springfield, we planted 3 river birch.
Excellent. And are those native trees, Betsy?
Well, they came from Community. So they must
They better be. They better be, or I'm going to talk to someone.
Excellent native species. Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Betsy. You did the heavy lifting, getting that all
You did
coordinated.
most of the digging.
Well, you do the coordinating, I'll come out and dig.
Okay.
And thank you, Laura, as well, who came out and helped. Any other grants under public relations? Okay,
No.
moving on then. Education and Outreach Committee.
Well, that's my territory also. I'm wondering if we have if we're expected at the farmer's market on June 7th.
I will say, so just an update to everyone, we were at the farmer's market on what we thought was opening weekend, but apparently others did well as well, the first weekend in May, and gave away quite a few trees. The official opening weekend, we were also there and gave away trees. There was some confusion. There have been some changes with the farmer's market. It is now being managed by Farmed and Forged, and we got their contact information.
I'll pass these around.
Okay.
I'll pass one around, and
Yep.
I'll keep one for the records.
So we were fortunate that, they approached us at the opening
Oh,
weekend.
that's right.
And said, this is a whole new organization running this. You need to have an application put in. You need to have a certification of insurance. Fortunately, Mary Nell sweet talked them.
Because they said, please leave. I mean, like,
Yes.
you can't stay
Yes.
today.
And we had
Yeah,
couple hundred trees.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
They were very nice.
they were very nice. They allowed us to stay. We
Yes.
explained the situation. We've, in the past, been welcomed and not had to go
Yeah.
through the rigmarole
because we're
being a city board.
Yeah.
But they did ask that we submit a formal application to be a vendor at the farmer's market, which I have done.
Oh, great.
I do not believe, frankly, that will be finalized in time for this weekend. So
How will we know?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay,
I will follow up on it,
thank you.
but I'm not entirely sure how we'll know. So I would just suggest that it may not be
Yeah.
feasible, and we
Yeah.
were just there a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
perhaps you'd like to, I can't be there this weekend anyway.
I
can't
could.
either.
At first, I didn't think so.
If I hear anything, I will let you know,
But
it's a few days away.
But
so.
I don't want to go unless we have trees to give away.
Okay, we do have a few straggler trees left.
Not many.
It's not
It was
many.
very good last.
Well, I'd be
Whenever we
willing
were
to
there.
go if there's something to do. I'm not going to just go and
Right.
Yeah. Well, we
talk to
could,
people about how they want their tree cut down.
we could skip June and then just go with, July.
On the other hand, if we have these straggler trees, they should be planted ASAP.
Yeah. Okay, so more information to follow.
Yes, I will keep you updated if I hear
Okay.
anything back from
Well,
them.
let me
I will
know-
try to follow
let
up
me know
tomorrow.
If that comes in at the last minute.
And
I-
then let me know also, 'cause
I will. I expect that they may need to have some follow-up communication, or I may need to, we're going to need to have the mayor indicate that we are covered by the city's insurance.
That's it, you're a city board.
Yes, they
And
were
you're-
concerned about
and
it.
You're on city property,
Yes, I would agree.
so,
But that has
It's
to be
new
expressly.
territory, I think, for,
yeah.
I think we caught them off, they didn't know we were gonna be
they
there.
caught off us guard. That's all.
Yes,
I
yes.
understand totally, but it should not be an issue.
Okay,
I
good,
agree.
good.
Thank you. And perhaps if I have any trouble conveying that, our city council liaison could,
Well, and I would just
Chime in.
direct it to Kelly Smith in the mayor's office.
Okay.
Because she'll be able to take care of it
okay,
faster than I would be able to.
okay. Kelly Smith, wonderful.
Yeah.
What is her title? Kelly Smith? Is she assistant or administrative?
Administrative assistant, I think,
Okay,
but there's two of them in the office and I get titles mixed up quite often.
Okay,
okay,
thank
But you
you.
can find her on the Michigan City government website.
okay. I will
thank
follow up with her tomorrow and I will let everyone know. Sounds like people are ready to go if we're approved in time. It's a couple days away, so we shall see how quickly that moves. Let's see. Also under education and outreach, we have Arbor Day, tree giveaways,
Right.
follow-up, more signage, and reduce order to 500.
So maybe not in June, but I think we need to order by October, I want to say, or maybe we get the form in October and we have to submit it by, the last day of the year. We need to
actually,
think about.
you're talking about ordering trees for next year's giveaway.
From Jasper Nursery.
You need to get that in the first day.
Okay.
That it's open, okay.
Yeah, otherwise, there's gonna be a lot of species you're not gonna get.
I think I'm thinking of a different, I'm thinking of Arbor
Yeah.
Day. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
And do we know generally that opens
It's
in
usually the
October?
beginning of October.
Okay.
There's no exact date.
And
It varies.
we already reduced our order to 500 last year, so
I thought 600, did we? No, 500.
It was
right.
500.
I
Right.
think 500 is okay.
500, okay.
Based on demand and giveaway this year, I'm an advocate for the bigger trees, personally. However, the 9 bark that we had,
Yes.
the smaller shrubs flew.
Yep.
Yeah. You
So
never
we
know, though.
we could consider,
Going with
based
more
on
shrubs.
demand, ordering more shrubs or smaller trees.
I love that idea.
Well, I have my heart set on service berries.
Okay.
Well, that's a smaller tree. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say
it's,
that.
This
it
time.
blooms, and it's very popular.
Love that
Very
tree.
popular.
And it is a smaller tree. We won't get all shrubs, but I definitely agree to get at least 100 service berry, maybe, 2 different shrubs, if not 3, and, but we'll get, as we see the list, as we get closer, I'll bring that back.
And certainly at that time, we can consult with our city arborist, or city forester, to see if there are recommendations based on our tree inventory of which
I'll
species
be
we
looking at that
might.
the next couple days as I'm putting together the tree planting RFP, so.
Fantastic.
And there's no guarantee that service berries will be available.
Well, I understand that.
Oh, yeah. As far as the signage, I think it's very helpful to have at least one, perhaps laminated, and it can even be, smaller, 8 by 11, that describes that each of the trees that we're giving away.
Yeah, we can do that this time.
Height, sun and soil,
I was very focused on doing that big sign this year, so now that I already have that,
Love that.
I can spend a little more time getting the other ones done.
Okay, yeah. I just want to bring it up while we're close to it, but, this will come up again later. Okay, great
Yeah.
feedback, y'all, thanks.
So we can revisit that as it gets a little bit closer to time to order. Any other feedback on how the tree giveaway went? I thought it was a big hit.
I thought it was so much smoother and,
Yeah,
well-received, and
The location was good.
loved the location of the senior center, parking and
Inside.
inside.
Yeah.
It was cold, very cold that day and windy,
was.
so I'm glad we were not outside.
Personally, I think you should always be inside because the space is available. I think at Memorial Hall, it was very limited.
Oh, yeah.
Inside, so.
As cute and rustic as it is, senior center better.
Right,
Yeah.
Andy Jans Davis is gonna continue to coordinate that.
Oh, great.
Fantastic.
great.
Great. Well, thank you to everyone who participated in the spring giveaway at multiple locations.
We were helped by having some publicity at the Michigan City Garden Show. Because we gave out a lot of flyers, lovely flyers that Mary Nell made. And we didn't really poll the people on how many people heard about us at the garden show versus other places. We should talk about whether we should do is the garden show every year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether we should do that next year. It's very time consuming because they want you to be there the entire day.
Perhaps we could consider shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
there were 3 of us.
We did do that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, now that there will be more of us, maybe we can do that a little easier.
Well, and it was a $50 charge to be there, which was not budgeted for anything. So it was a $50 donation from me to be there.
Well, you need to be reimbursed for that.
Well, and plus I didn't find out about the garden show until the deadline to
After the deadline.
yeah, so I had to, whoever sets up the garden show doesn't do a very good job of
The committee changes every year.
oh,
Do
okay.
you recall the general month that was due?
Late January, I think.
Yeah, I think we applied in February
Yeah.
and the event was
It's too
in
late.
March.
Okay, so
It wasn't
perhaps
too late. I mean, we had,
Well-
the spot we had was okay, but,
Yeah.
perhaps we can note that for a future agenda, probably in November or December, to revisit so that we
Sure.
can be ahead of it.
Yeah.
right.
And since I'm still engaged with the Master Gardeners, I'll check on that ahead of time and
Great.
find out. Yeah.
I'll add that to our calendar, list of activities, or, by month, I'll add that for January.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it was very worthwhile to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it also helps, I think, we just got a lot of people walking in there, going to every single table at the Earth Day event that came by.
if you feel that it was worthwhile time, I would be in favor of doing it again,
For the
but with
Gardner,
the
yeah.
fee being paid by our tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
not
it's
by
too
you.
late to request anything, so I just paid
Still
it.
request it now.
Start a GoFundMe.
No, I don't need the money right now, thank you very much, but I'm just glad that it was somewhat effective at, getting people to come to the Earth Day thing.
That's great. And I have noticed, anecdotally, an increase in our engagement on our Facebook page.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two other things I think really helped with making it a smoother tree giveaway at the Earth Day. The tree tags, so we will continue with that. And getting about 5 volunteers that came over in that hour before to help set up everything. That was huge.
Well, and we put the trees in buckets, so we didn't have to.
Yeah, good idea,
And
Jen.
then we
That was
also
so much
wrapped
better.
them up so that,
I still have, I think, about 500 plastic bags left over from this.
I only have about 100, but
Yeah.
we did well on collecting
Yeah,
those.
so, well on our way to next year's. Okay, that's helpful.
I have some, but they will be gone by the end of Girl Scout season. I can tell you that much. Okay. Sounds like we've come to the end of public relations,
Yeah.
unless there's anything else. Moving on to our city foresters report.
All right. I don't have a written report, obviously, for the month of May because I didn't take over as forester until June 1st. However, I want to explain to you what my idea would be or my intentions are, and then
Okay, great.
hear what your expectations are so we can align those. I intend to write you a written city forester report prior to the first Wednesday of each month, which would detail the summary of what I've been working on for the prior month. So my intention would be to send you something by the Friday before the first Wednesday. So for example, that would be Friday, June 27th. I can get you the written report for everything that we did in the month of June. I believe I have everybody's email here because I went through and I've got
Oh.
it from Mary Nell's emails.
Right, but not necessarily the new people.
Yeah, so when we get to that point, if you could, once I send it out, if you can just forward it on to
Yeah.
them until I get to know everybody else who's,
Yeah.
I understand there's 2 new members. But does that sound good to everybody?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so you can expect that, and then you'll have the weekend and Monday and Tuesday to go over that and formulate questions for when we sit down on July 2nd. But I would like to at least take a moment to tell you what we have been working on, even though it's been only a couple days. I've anticipated this coming since our last tree board meeting, and I think it was May 4th or 5th. So it's been one of those scenarios where I've been thinking about exactly what we need to do. And none of this is really new to me. This is what I've done for my whole career. So what's about to happen, Wendy, the Public Works Director, is calling it a tree blitz because we met Friday, and I said we really got to hit the ground running because essentially the first year of having this grant funding, if we kind of go back and look at the history and the progression, the IRA grant was first announced in June of 2023. That summer, Nicole Messakar was the 2 foresters ago. Plus, I believe, Jen, you had a lot to do with that too. I know you didn't take a lot of credit for that in the meeting previous to this, but I do believe you helped write a lot of that, did you not?
I was in conversations with Nicole.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't know
So
that.
you should take some credit for that. But I think it was September, October where we found out that we were awarded the $1 million. And then Mike was hired in January. And one thing that Mike did that was actually very smart was say, we're not going to start removing trees and planting trees until we get the inventory done. This is what I'm always preaching to my clients all the time. Now that I'm on both sides of this one, I can tell you it's going to be a lot easier. You have to go through that discovery phase first. And, you don't know what you need to do until you know what you have and until that data is updated. So we know exactly how many trees we need to remove, exactly where our open planting spaces are. However, now we're 1.5 years into this 5-year grant, and there hasn't really, although there's been actionable items like having the tree inventory done and hiring the apprentice, okay, there hasn't been a lot actionable that the public can see.
Right.
And so in my very first meeting that I had with the mayor, I said, we really have to get that going because this has been in the newspapers. You know, people know about it. Some of the tree requests that I've seen, even people in the public are mentioning this, like, hey, I heard we got all this money for tree removal, and I got this really bad tree in front of my house. So it's about time that we start to move forward and have some action that can be seen. Not to mention, what was mentioned many times at the meeting prior to this one was just that the grant funding, as you know, is unpredictable, whether or not it will continue for 3.5 more years. So if I jokingly refer to this, if the Grim Reaper comes for our grant funding, we want to try to get as much done as we can.
Yes.
And there's certain
Yes.
strategies that I won't get into now that we talked to or with the mayor about, you know, trying to get some pre-authorization to get some trees purchased even though they're not planted yet, and then get reimbursed for them. So if something happens down the road, let's say something like we can't plant a fall planting in July.
Right.
And you would mention that at the beginning of this meeting. It's getting too late for that. But if we can procure those trees and get them paid for, and now they become property of City of Michigan City, and then we can put in for reimbursement, and then they're just planted later. That gives us a few month buffer if something should happen. Now, with
Yes.
tree removal, that might be a little more difficult to do. But both of these things are really important to get these programs underway. So I am working on this right away. What you can expect to see over the next month is there'll be a request for proposal going out to tree removal contractors to remove the high priority, highest, I guess you'd say, potential high risk trees, dead or hazardous, as we say, along with some trees that need to be pruned, not necessarily pruning for the health of the tree yet or getting a cyclical pruning done, but the ones that are also posing risk. So a tree might not need to be removed, but it might have a large dead hanging limb or something over a house or the power lines or parked cars or bus stop, whatever it may be. So we got to get those in, and then the tree planting for the fall. All that's got to get planned really in the next month. I always advise my clients that you should be working on your fall planting as soon as your spring planting is done, because it takes a lot to coordinate a tree planting, and especially when it's happening and the oversight that has to go into it, and the moving trees around at the last request and all that. It's very stressful, but when it gets done, you take a quick break for maybe a week, and then you get on your fall planting, because you want to make sure that you can procure those trees from the nursery or whoever your source is, your grower. Because if you wait till August or September to do an October, November planting, the availability of those trees is already waning.
You're right.
Right.
And you're not going to get what you want. You're not going to get the species you want, the size you want, and you're going to be getting substandard trees. So we're already pushing the envelope a little bit. I'm not tremendously worried about it by any means, but
Okay.
we need to get those two things going. So from a fall planting perspective, June is acceptable, but we got to get it done this month and get this RFP out. From a tree removal standpoint, part of it is I want the community to see that there's things happening, right? But another thing came up at the meeting prior to this one that I actually hadn't thought about. It somehow escaped me, was that we have the state time frame on when trees can and can't be removed due to the Indiana bat law.
Oh.
So that date starts on October 1st. So that was a little bit of, when that came up, that was actually Shannon from the Parks Department brought that up, and it kind of stopped us all in our tracks for a second. We're like, you're right. We only have 15 more weeks when we can be removing trees. By
So
October, you
it's-
can't cut between October 1st and then March 1st. So that said, we've got to get the tree removal program going soon. I can tell you that just the high priority trees identified in the inventory, and I don't want to get too involved in the weeds, Jen, before, but they kept saying the number 400. Well, that was just right away. There's high priority trees also in the parks, in the cemeteries, and schools, because all those were inventoried in different data layers. So we have the inventory of the right of way, the parkway trees, street trees. We've got the parks, we've got schools, we've got the cemeteries, the golf course. So the number's actually much higher than that. So I don't know that there's even one tree removal contractor at this time of year that's going to be able to do as many trees as we need to be removed. So we're probably going to have to put out a multiple contractor or multiple award style grant so that we get several contractors working on it at the same time, so we can get as much done as we can before October 1st. Whatever we can't, we still got 3.5 years, so we can do a whole nother round of removals later. But again, I think it would behoove us to get as many down as we can because of the grant situation. And
I'm curious, is the removal of trees, does it go by zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 in the different years? Or it's just whatever the top priority?
That's a great question. It's going to get prioritized not necessarily geographically, but by the level of risk that we placed on it.
Okay.
Myself and my 2 other arborists that did this inventory, we ranked those. And that's why we did that.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were going to eventually be able to. Well, I thought I was going to be presenting that list to Mike, but now I've got it on my computer already. So as it turned out, there's steps that don't need to take place now because I've got all that data and I can work on this right away.
That's great.
So,
Question for you.
and there's the training that would have gone along with me working with Mike to say, here's how you do this, here's how we do that. Here, I got it. I've got it all. It's done.
Yeah.
This is going to get done in the next 30 days. So
Streamlined.
the Forester's report that you'll get on June 27th will be rather robust. So
A couple quick questions for you. So we have funds for tree removal as well as tree pruning of hazardous high risk. We know, and we don't need to tell you, oak wilt.
right.
We prefer.
That was my question.
Oaks
No.
and elms are going to have to get deferred.
Okay. Yeah, I know
pruning
that.
doesn't fall into the Indiana bat law. It's just removals.
That was my next question, is that perhaps we can focus on removals through October,
Yeah.
and then in October, shift to pruning.
Well, in October, November, we shifted the tree planting.
Okay, yes,
And-
yes.
And then in the dead of winter, we go to oak tree and elm tree pruning, because elm trees fall into that too with the
Oh, do they?
with
Okay.
Dutch elm disease.
Okay,
So there'll always be something going on, but the planning has to happen now. The
Yes.
planning really should have been going, but now we really need to get it going. So.
yes.
So,
Oh,
go ahead.
my question is, obviously you're not working all by yourself. Are you going to be working with Michigan City Public Works employees and training any of them, or is it all your people from your company?
No, well, as far as actually doing the tree pruning and removal, we don't do that. So I certainly am available to train people to do that. I don't really anticipate that we're going to have to, because I think most of the tree removal that's going to be done for the grant is going to be done contractually.
Okay,
The numbers are huge, and they're more than what the city of Michigan City's Public Works crew can do. So to give you a little bit more inside baseball on this, there is one section of Michigan City, it's like the hole of the donut, right?
It's Edgewood.
It's Edgewood, that doesn't fall in that climate and economic justice zone. So no work that's done in that area will get paid for by the grant. So how we're kind of strategizing on this is that the city crews can work within that area, because the trees cannot be pruned, removed, or planted using those federal funds. The rest of the city, which is like 90%, I didn't actually do the math on that. I'm just kind of just throwing numbers out there for the sake of the conversation, but 90% of the rest of the city is covered. And it probably would, balance out to where, there's no way that the city tree crew could do all these removals and all this pruning. So they're going to be doing just typically what's inside that Edgewood area, and then the grant's going to pay for everything else.
well, follow up to that, since you mentioned Edgewood and the Public Works employees, who trains the Public Works employees on pruning? Because we've had some problems in the past, I think it was before Mike came on.
It was before and after.
Okay, where Public Works employees were pruning, badly
trees.
pruning oak trees in the middle of
August.
summer.
Yeah.
And, we got very upset, and they're like, well, don't tell us what to do. And so I'm just wondering if they need a refresher course.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
And there are some funds for professional development in the
Yeah,
grant.
workforce development.
Yeah.
So that's a great question for Drew.
Okay.
Because to answer that question, let me back up on something, is that because we lost the apprentice, unfortunately she has to have day-to-day supervision from a certified arborist. So once Mike left, that was no longer possible. There's money in that grant for that. It's the workforce development piece there. And according to Drew, we cannot reallocate that to pruning, removal, or planting. It has to stay in workforce development. I don't know exactly what that number is because I don't have the budget, but Jen does. I'm going to be getting it here in the next couple of days, along with the balance sheet of what's been spent so far and what is still available. So we talked about possibly using that for the SCA to do the tree watering and the post-planting care of the trees. But another way that, now that you're bringing this up, Betsy, that I think we can use that for is to train the employees to do some of their own pruning, and I'll be happy to do that. It's actually on my list of bullet points that I gave the mayor in our first meeting.
Okay,
Like, here's
great.
the services offered.
And we,
That's a great
It'd be great.
relief because that's a service that would extend beyond the grant.
yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we did have, I believe, 5 Michigan City employees come to a pruning workshop
Oh.
that we held
I remember you mentioning that, yeah.
over a year ago.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was progress.
I didn't think about that, but it putting that into the workforce development would be great because
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty good amount of money there.
Okay.
Because Bea was 3 years at
Right.
starting at 17 an hour and going to 22 an hour, plus the benefits. I think were 20,000 a year because I remember Mike having to go to Drew and reallocate 60,000 somehow. Remember that for the
Yes.
benefits? So there's a substantial amount of money
significant,
that I don't know exactly what the SCA charges for these things. We need to get with Leo. We need to find out how that goes. I heard recently that they had some funding frozen as well, the SCA. And it doesn't mean they're out of business, they're not doing what they do. But it may wind up being a stretch to figure out how we're going to spend that workforce development.
We can follow up with
So
SCA.
training, in-house training, I think we could make a pretty good pitch on that.
Good.
Yes.
So thanks for bringing that up because that's a great idea, and I can't imagine Drew would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I
Because
can't.
really, it's all about making the trees better and making the air
Yes,
quality
and my
better.
understanding is that
So I'll give you
SCA,
news on that.
like you said, SCA is not out of business. They have lost some grant funding, but last that I spoke with them, they're still open to doing business with us.
Well, that's great because we're going to need someone to water all these trees.
Yeah.
You know? Somebody once asked me, "How many trees should I plant?" And my answer was,
How many can you
"How
water?
many can you water?"
Yeah.
And not a single one more.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's going to be great if we can get them on board.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're glad to have you on board.
Yeah, there'll be more to come.
Laura, did you have a question?
So, yeah, I'm just trying to clarify in my mind. Trees have not been ordered yet for the fall planting, but they're about to be.
Yes,
Okay,
goal will be in the next 30 days.
okay.
And to say it one more time, we're looking into seeing if we can purchase them and actually have them as city property, and then get and then pay the
Yeah.
grower and get reimbursed, so they're ours no matter what happens in the next
Yes.
4
Because
months.
once-
Or actually, it's more like 6 months till we can actually plant them.
Once we incur an expense, even if the grant were to get taken away
Yeah.
the next day, anything that has been
Yeah.
incurred is still eligible
Yeah.
for reimbursement. So spend the money.
What I heard Drew say was if we tag the tree in the nursery with a tag that says City of Michigan City and pay for it, it's our property.
Okay. And the city seemed on board with that.
Yeah, the mayor seemed on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Excellent.
Okay.
Because I think the goal is to get to extract as much as we can before
Yes.
we take it away.
Sure.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Yes.
but within reason. You know, I mean, we're not going to be able to spend $900,000 this year, and it wouldn't be wise to plant 1,500 trees because
Right.
the budget calls for 1,500 1.5-inch trees. I think so.
Yes.
So that would not be smart because we couldn't possibly
We have to water,
them all,
yeah.
and you know, it just And we would never be able to do it on a pruning and removal end anyway, because again, the Indiana bat law kicks in on October 1st, and it's just not feasible. I mean, it would be great to just blow this whole thing out before October, but
Yeah.
I don't think it can happen.
Well, and I would hope that as we enter into however we go about planting and watering these trees, perhaps we can consider including watering in that contract and even try to pay up front so that we know we have a mechanism to water. I don't know if that's, I don't know.
No, that's not a bad idea.
Does Michigan City own a watering truck?
I don't know. It's
Michael may have had something in the works. I'm not sure. I thought he had something in the works for that.
Yeah, it's not difficult and it's not expensive. Honestly, with a small trailer, but I'm sure there's got to have to be a small trailer, a 250 or 500 gallon water tank you can put on there and a small pump.
Yeah.
Just pull it with a pickup.
Okay.
It's not really, it doesn't have to be anything specialized like a fire tanker.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, but you can put one together for really cheap.
Okay.
Will the plantings still follow the zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 in the different years?
The
Is that
planting,
going to be,
that's a good question because I'm going to get working on that, possibly even tomorrow. I want to, typically what I do in these cases is I kind of spread them out throughout the city. I don't want to get too heavy in one zone,
yeah.
right? And then, and this would be a really good example of why I don't want to do that, because if there were a funding issue down the road,
Yes,
then
yes,
all these
yes,
trees planted
yes,
here, then
yes.
nothing over here. So
Yeah, right,
I want to
yeah.
kind of spread them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And get them. It's not going to be a challenge because there's so many good planting spaces in Michigan City. Having walked these streets, doing the inventory last fall and last winter, I can tell you there's great planting spaces. There's a lot of them too.
Yes.
So the first 500 will be easy. The second 500 will be a little more challenging, and then the third 500 set, which we'll actually do them, I think, in sets of 250 for spring and fall. This time, the reason we're doing 500 in the fall is because we missed the spring plant.
Correct, yeah.
And we'll have to figure out. I think next year, to make it more manageable, it would be good to do 250 and 250.
Yep.
Same with 2020. No, we wouldn't even be able to do that. We'll have to do 500 again at some point, right? Because it's a 5-year grant, so we can do 250 for the next 4 plantings.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your report. We're glad to have you on board. Anything else on the city forester's report? Okay. Moving on to old business. I believe we may have covered some of this. Update on IRA grant progress and inventory. Any further questions there? I think we just covered
I think we
that.
can strike inventory from
Yeah.
old
Yes,
business
yes.
now.
Community, I believe we've covered that as
Yes.
well. We did the community spring plantings, and there is consideration of perhaps applying for additional in the fall.
Will you forward the application to me,
I will.
and I will get started? Now, with the last application, they wanted specifics on where the trees would go.
Yes.
What trees would go where. That's going to take a while to figure out.
Yeah, I would say that the application form should be the same. The main priority should probably be vetting the locations, because the review committee does like to see exactly where the trees are going and exactly how they're going to be watered. So if we can kind of prioritize, it'll be hard because we're in summer and we're trying to plant with schools. But the more detail provided tends to be the stronger.
Well, and what I learned was 811 does. At one point, they told me to hang up and call back 2 weeks from then because they didn't want me to apply too far ahead of time. But it's a question on the community application. Has 811 been called?
And
And it has been.
Yes, and I would say it's not uncommon that people have not called 811. It's preferable if you have your site ready to go. However, it's not uncommon that 811 has not been called yet. But what is important, I think, is having the best possible plan that you can of this is where the trees are going to be planted, and this is how they're going to be maintained. This is our plan for watering them.
How about if I say that I will call 811 3 weeks before planting?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I learned a few things about calling them, but I don't need to get into now. And
As did I.
that, so I will be prepared next time I'm on the phone with them.
Okay.
For example, they want to know the nearest cross street, the nearest intersection, so I wasn't necessarily ready for that. A few other things.
Yep. It's good to have a map pulled up so that you can talk through it with them. I learned that the hard way as well. Okay. Next on old business, certified mail response?
This is with, Tim Werner had sent out the law firm and had sent to the tree board, and I think perhaps every organization in the city. I had mentioned this, I know I have it in the minutes from like 3 months, 2 months ago or something. And I remember Michael saying that's being handled by the city lawyer, so I didn't do anything with it, but I don't know if we do need to do anything with it.
Okay.
Maybe we just need to ask Amber what's going on?
I don't know.
That would be a good first step, I would think.
I would suggest that we just issue a no comment because we are not privy to the details of any of this.
I don't know why we should issue anything
I like the idea of forwarding
Okay.
that
before we
to
talk to
Amber.
Amber. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Let
right.
Amber say that no comment or whatever.
Okay.
And we seem to have improved communications with city staff. So I think that would be a good course of action, would be to forward that to Amber and just say,
Okay.
FYI, we're checking in on this.
Do you want to do that as
I can do that.
president?
I can do that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Would you please forward me the email that we're referring to, just so I have it
Right.
top of hand?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. New business. We do have a few items. Monthly process to inform City Hall media of meetings. Wendy Vacher, is it Vacher? Public Works Director at City Hall noted at April meeting, we may be able to send one yearly schedule.
Okay, so this is, I wrote this up, so if this might be hard to parse. Should I just jump in here?
Yes, please.
Okay. What has been happening for some time is every month there's a list, and it was like 84 people that are sent, the agenda. But when Wendy was here, she mentioned, love this idea, that we could send out at the beginning of the year, here's when we're going to be having our monthly meetings. And then if those were to change, we would send out, a correction. And then I suggest we send out a generic agenda, we've got it, back when Dahlia was here, we met, I don't know if it was the three of us, but we came up with a standard agenda. I think we cleaned it up from whatever it had been because there was some, old stuff on there. But is that okay to do for the next meeting? Is that okay with the board if I send out to that list of 84 people, here are the next meetings for the rest of the year, and here's the agenda. If any meetings change, we will let you know.
As long as Wendy says that's good.
Well, she's the one who brought it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I see the word may, so I don't know
Well,
what that means.
I
just
would
being
suggest
gentle.
that we do 6 months at a time, because if we send out something a year ahead of time, in the middle of the year, everyone's going to forget that we send out anything.
well, I mean, it's on. Well,
It's
I
kind of
know
a matter
we're
of
keeping the
public
hordes
record.
back of everyone that has received this of the 84, but I think people put it on their calendar as it's the first, Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's on the
Okay.
city website, that's when it is.
But if we wanted to ever change the date or the time of the meeting, if
That's why I said,
you-
if the meetings will be changing, if there's a
Okay.
particular meeting that has to change because of holiday, whatever, then we'll just send out a
No, I mean a
notice.
permanent change, like the one Michael suggested when we changed the time of the meeting.
Yeah. We could just send an update on that.
Yeah, we'll address that if it
All
comes
right.
up.
Yeah.
I'm curious to who the 84 people is.
I will be happy
Bunch
to.
of-
So it's
No,
the
I mean,
media-
it's the whole city council and everybody who's on any board anywhere. And,
It's a media,
People who have expressed an interest to receive it.
okay.
I would be in favor of that. I don't know if,
I don't, I'm questioning if you can do that.
Okay,
Okay, according to the open door law,
okay,
because there's a requirement that those have to be posted 48 hours in advance.
Okay.
So you're gonna be
I'll reach out to Wendy.
You're gonna be out of sync with every other single board, commission, and committee.
So happy she said that, so,
Yeah.
but I'll
So-
follow up with Wendy.
yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good. We'll follow up with Wendy. Okay, but we're questioning whether or not that's allowable.
Yeah, with the open door law,
Okay.
I'd really
Okay,
question that.
Darn
Okay.
it.
yep. So we need to very much question that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And follow up.
Will do.
You're gonna be out of sync with every other single entity within the city.
Okay. Yeah, we want to keep
You
things
wanna keep things.
Yep.
yeah.
consistent and similarly. Okay,
And once a month.
yeah.
Along with 12 other things once a month, yeah. It's not
I'm
nothing.
just saying.
No, we do want to stay consistent though with what.
Sure, I
other
just
boards-
said
yeah.
it because Wendy brought it up at the
Yeah.
meeting. She
And I
attended.
think, I don't know if she was referring to your public notice or if she was referring to you getting on a calendar or something, okay?
Okay,
Which is different.
Sending out the agenda. So I will follow up with her.
Yeah.
okay, great.
Can move on.
Next on new business, note, annual activities list includes for June. Discuss annual budget, adjust, submit to controller, and for July, review budget feedback from city council and controller.
Okay, I added this because this is the, on our annual calendar that, we've all kind of, that I drafted and everyone, took a look at. Every month, we've got some things that we need to look out for, like when to send in the Arbor Day application, when to send in the Jasper Nursery, blah, blah, blah. And so for this time, because last year, there was a lot of confusion about who was submitting the budget. Since we did not submit a budget, we weren't sure we were going to receive a budget. However, we found out, yes, we did, that rolled over. I just want to get on track with making sure that we submit a budget. So I don't know if, Jen, you need to just say we would like to,
Yeah,
continue our budget at the same level.
What budget do we have besides the donations?
Oh, come on, we've gone through all this. Remember, it was like $500 for education and $500 for, outreach, something like that. I mean, it's not a lot, but
Plus,
there's
it's the
two items.
$50 you get every month.
Oh, that.
it's not a lot, but it needs to be done.
Correct.
Well,
mean,
when
we-
I tried to get some money back, they never gave it to me.
All the more reason to make sure it's in the budget so
Yeah.
that you can make a case for
So,
that.
okay, so if we go to the garden show next year,
That's
and
the
pay
$50, absolutely, that should come out of this, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's office supplies and it's other services and charges.
Now, I went and asked for the office supplies. I had the signed agenda and everything they wanted, and I never heard back.
Did you ask them about it, follow up? I would
Well,
give that a
actually,
try.
I was not able to hand it directly to the controller. I was one of her assistants who looked at me like I was from the moon. And
Okay, be a little gentle here, we're going out on YouTube here,
that's
Betsy.
true. Okay, I'm sorry. But she was.
Ease up there.
She seemed to be uninformed that of what the process was. And no, I did not follow up because, I just didn't. I figured
Okay,
it wasn't
so
available
It
to
sounds
me.
as though we need to just follow
Yeah,
up and make some.
I'll check in with Mary Lynn, the controller, and say that you were not yet reimbursed for, I think it was $50, you said?
No, I never applied for the $50 for the garden
No,
show.
okay, well, what was it for the printer? About?
I don't remember, but it was more than $50
Okay.
for my printer ink.
Okay, and about what month was it?
I don't remember.
Okay, I will email you and ask you the details so I can
Might
send
have been
them.
last year.
I don't think so, but okay. I'll get the details from you and I'll follow up with Mary Lynn. She's
Well,
very
maybe
helpful.
instead of that, we could have a more clear procedure of where to bring this, who to give it to, what needs to be done,
Yes.
instead of trying to dig up the past, which I really don't care about right now. find out what the proper procedure was. I mean, because it could have been my mistake that got there wrong day, wrong time, or
It's-
something
yeah.
like that.
It sounds as though we just need to clarify that procedure. We seem to have improving communications with city staff.
Yeah.
We have 2 city council liaisons.
Yeah.
Met with the city staff today, so I think we have improved communications, but we just need to clarify with them what that proper procedure is.
Right.
Okay, so the item here then, Jen, is about, our budget. So is that something, and that maybe Nancy as city liaison, you could help us with this. Is that something that our board needs to do a formal request on? Do you do that on our behalf?
I don't do it on your behalf.
Okay.
I would work through your chair here.
Okay,
I would work through your chair here, okay?
yep.
That's what I would recommend doing.
But have we ever received reimbursement on any of those items?
Let's take a look at that at the next meeting. I'll look into it. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Okay, so Jen will, and I'll put that in as a follow-up item. Jen, okay, submit request.
Okay.
And usually you'll have a form that you need to fill out with itemized whatever it is
Okay.
you're asking for reimbursement on. You'll need the receipt. And then.
Yeah, actually, we did meet with Mary Lynn, and we asked her this specifically, and we noted all of that. I'll have to go back and find all of that and send it to you
Maybe
again.
I was missing the form, because
Okay.
I had the receipts, I had the signed
I don't know.
minutes.
Okay,
I
take
had
a-
signed minutes.
I don't recall a form.
Jen, you sign off on it.
Okay.
As chair.
Okay, yeah. Well, we will look into, before the next meeting, clarifying that process,
Yeah.
so that we have it, so that we know we're
Good.
And you
going
can
by the book.
access your funds.
Yes. I know we're running a little late here, but under new business, I don't know if this needs to be added to the next agenda, or if we can discuss it tonight. Perhaps it should be on the next agenda. Betsy, you made the point that I have also been confused sometimes about the distinctions between communications, public relations, education and outreach. I know these are distinct things. However, there seems to be substantial overlap when we discuss these on our agenda. So I would propose on the next agenda, perhaps we have a little bit of a discussion about our agenda and how those things overlap.
Sure, in fact, we can do it as I prepare the next agenda. I mean, are people fine with combining public relations and education and outreach? And what was the other one?
Communication was another.
Communications.
I think if we keep them separate, we just need to clarify what we're talking about where, because I think we tend to have a lot of overlap in those conversations. Might streamline our agenda.
I'm thinking maybe with communication, because we get some emails and things like that, but I can see, yeah, PR and education and outreach seems like that melds
Well,
together.
it seems to me PR goes with communications.
Well,
Because
look
it's,
at what's under communications this month. Is
lot.
that PR?
well,
It's-
no.
It's in communications.
Yeah.
actually.
Communications that we've received.
Yeah.
But to me, planting trees is not public relations.
What is
It's
it?
education and
Okay,
outreach.
so combining PR with education and outreach, how do people feel about that?
And if you want the new terminology that's being used by most organizations, it's outreach and engagement.
Oh,
I would
like
agree with that. That's an important distinction.
But we do.
Engagement is two-way.
Education is one of our
It goes under
functions.
engagement in most cases.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's the new term.
I would agree with that, and the distinction being that engagement is two-way.
Yeah, I like that. So do we even need to say public relations?
No?
I don't think we do.
No,
I think they can be combined. Are we prepared, are we able to vote on that change to our standing agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
I propose that we combine education and outreach and public relations and rename it outreach and engagement on our agenda going
A
forward.
second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Can I just bring one thing?
Yes.
You could, just to condense further, you could strike item 9A, because that would all be which is updated IRA grant.
That will all be under your
That will all be
report.
under the forester's report, so that
Great.
condenses and simplifies it a little bit.
Okay.
So,
Will do, yeah.
Does that need a vote?
I don't think so, it's under old business.
Okay, okay. Okay. One other item under new business, I did just want to mention, the mayor did give me this document when we met with Public Works. I have not had a chance to review it, but it looks as though it is a survey from the College of Natural Resources at University of Wisconsin, some sort of a urban community forestry census. Looks like they're sending out a survey. I have not had a chance to review it, but I will review it and then email out, if that's okay, just a general synopsis of what it is, and we can decide if we would like to respond to it.
What's the deadline?
I think it's probably already passed. There, it looks like they're, oh, I'm sorry, June 18th.
There's usually a
I'm sure they'd still take it after.
Is this for somebody's,
It looks like it's someone's
thesis?
study, yeah.
It's my alma mater. If I can help in any way, let me know.
Okay. So if everyone feels comfortable, if that's something we can just follow up on after the meeting via email, is that acceptable?
sure.
Fine with me?
No?
I mean, it's not one of our key functions to answer a survey.
Right. I wouldn't mind doing it. The mayor gave it to me, and if it's your alma mater.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a collegial thing to do and working with others. We go to others looking for assistance and
Oh, yeah,
information,
but
so
I
I'd
just-
like to help others too.
It's too bad we didn't get this
yes, I got
long
it
ago.
about an hour ago, maybe two. Well, I will follow up on that and just keep you guys informed. I don't think it's anything that needs a formal vote or anything like that. So I'll do a further review and just send an email with the next steps if we want to pursue that. Anything else under new business?
Do we want to say anything about any announcements that we might have heard today? Or wait
Oh.
until next?
Yeah.
I don't know what formal announcements you have heard. I will say that we all know that there has been some limbo in tree board appointments. I have not received anything official.
Okay.
Have you received? I haven't checked my email. I was in a
just
meeting.
skimmed something driving in. So.
Okay.
Someone who was at the city council meeting might be able to tell us.
Yeah, whomever the mayor appointed last night, the city council, actually, we don't approve, and I can't think of the word right now.
Advice and consent?
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Okay.
So whomever the mayor appointed,
When I saw her Tuesday,
we gave advice and consent.
There were 3 names.
And that was announced. I can
It
say.
was announced at the city council.
Okay. So then I
Absolutely.
can share the name.
Absolutely.
Then Dennis.
And I
Brittany.
just got my formal announcement of this at 3:26 this afternoon,
Okay. Okay.
so it's here.
So Dennis will be
Yay.
reappointed to
Yeah.
the tree board, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Couldn't have done without you.
If it is now public knowledge, Harshini, who is a Save the Dunes employee and a local
Yes.
resident, has been appointed or recommended, and it sounds like approved, to the tree board to be sworn in. I cannot recall the name of the
Denise Blau?
Denise.
Denise Blau.
Okay, yes.
BLAU.
Okay, so that is the latest we have. I apologize, I was hesitant to announce it without knowing if it was public knowledge. But yes, we do have that
Yeah.
resolved.
Well, that's big.
And
Yes.
congratulations on having a full board again.
Yes, wonderful.
And I guess somebody will give you their email addresses so they can receive an agenda?
Well, I think the announcement that came out included them on it with their email.
Okay.
Excellent.
I haven't seen that yet. It sounds like it was recent and we were.
Yes, and there were 3 separate ones.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Any other new business?
Just one question. Can I be addressed as the reappointed, not the new member?
Oh, I'm sorry. The reappointed, long-serving, dedicated, very dedicated, and serving far more years than I have.
And in the announcement, it did state that all 3 people do need to go to City Hall during
Yes.
certain hours and
Right.
take the oath and so on, and
Be
fill out the
there,
paperwork.
Knocking on the door as soon as I can wake up.
Wonderful. I think we're all very excited for that. Comments from board members? Comments from public? We don't have public, but we do have staff and council liaison. Not staff, contractual foresters.
However you want to call them.
I just want to say congratulations on an extremely successful tree giveaway. That's a big monumental task to undertake,
nice.
and I think it makes a real significant difference for our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for everyone who was involved. I know there was a lot of heavy lifting, and I will say it was encouraging to hear you give out bare root, you don't know what's going to happen with them. But we had a lot of people come up to us and say, oh, here's a picture of my
Yeah,
tree that I got
Yeah,
from
that
you
was nice
3
to
years
hear.
ago, and look at it now.
yeah.
So that was
That
encouraging to
was-
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next meeting, July 2nd, right here at 5:30. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.